Hello, everyone. Welcome to McDuff Lives. I'm John O'Loughlin. It's Friday time for our Friday live chat with McDuff and Marcia. So let's go. All right, and welcome everybody. It's great to be back here after 2 weeks away with a little bitty cold that we are finally getting rid of. But Marcia, Keith, great to have you back. Let's expand our little view so we can see each other better. And,
there we go.
Okay, Marcia, how are you doing this morning?
Hello, I'm here. I'm so glad to be back. So glad to be rejoining the human race after 2 weeks of being sick.
Yeah, seriously, this one has not been fun. So it is a blessing to be able to do this show this morning, and we're really grateful for our returning health.
Yes,
and also the thawing of the ice outside of our house.
Not thawing too much today or tomorrow. I think that tomorrow we have a forecast for cold temperatures and very high winds. So it's going to be more winter.
Yeah, that's what the groundhog said up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
and they know. Those groundhogs, they know.
I don't know. I read somewhere where the groundhog is only right like 35% of the time.
That's propaganda.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's people that hate Pennsylvania, and so they try to take down, all the good people of Punxsutawney.
Yeah.
Just because of, But
it's all spin.
Yeah, it is all spin.
And it's not nice to spin groundhogs. They don't hurt anybody.
They made a whole movie about it with Bill Murray, remember?
Yeah, the thing about that movie is I've never been a fan of Andie MacDowell. I'm not quite sure who thought she could actually act.
Oh, come on.
That's just it. I mean, she's cute and pretty, and especially when she was young, I guess, and maybe a little bit sexy or flirtatious. But what?
Oh, nothing.
I mean, she's not young. She's fine with that. She recognizes it. I mean, she's about the same age I am. So I'm not young. But anyway, I just never thought she was much of an actress. So
well,
not a big fan of that movie.
Bill Murray. Yeah, it was a strange movie and kind of creepy in a way that you go through. He wakes up and he has to do the same day over and over and over again.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what the takeaway is, other than it was mildly amusing.
Yeah, it was mildly amusing. Well, the takeaway is that you have a chance to redo things. How many times have you ever thought about, do you want to go back and, relive that moment and get it right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what that movie is about.
And then just show up with having all of a sudden got talent, can play anything on the piano, because you've been through that day of thousands of times and you have already practiced your Bach and you're ready for the big concert and you impress her, I mean, it's really more about men, about how the lengths we'll go to impress a woman.
And that's kind of sweet. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we have a lot of topics that have come up in the last 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness, so much.
And I hardly know where to start except for to just say, make a comment, guys, and we will go from there. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to go back to a comment that our friend Prester John made on our show back in December. I'm actually going to put it up on the thing just so I can see it better. But here, I have tremendous respect for John and Marcia for creating McDuff Lives, but This platform has spun itself into a Trump vindication syndrome project. Whoa.
Whoa.
Marcia, have
Yes.
you ever in your life felt yourself compelled to support Donald Trump?
No, no. And in fact, I thought that I was doing a pretty good job, and maybe I am doing too good of a job keeping back my disdain that I have for Donald Trump. Because I do. I have a lot of disdain for Donald Trump. My thing is, though, that I don't automatically hate everything he does. And I think that very often we find ourselves in these situations where he's been criticized for what he's done simply because he's Donald Trump, not because what he's done is wrong or bad. But no, I've never thought of myself as somebody who is trying to vindicate Donald Trump. What about you?
For me, it's unfortunately, we've all been enlisted in the British Navy, and as you know from the British Navy, that when you're in the British Navy, you always have to choose the lesser of two evils. If you didn't watch Master and Commander or read the Practical O'Brien books, you might not know that, but you always have to choose the lesser of two evils.
That's right.
And that's what I did the last time. And I think we all are in that position. And this is why I am so serious about undoing the coup. Because, when we had President Kennedy, and I'm glad to have been alive when he
Indeed, me
was
too.
the president, we didn't worry about that so much. We basically, he was the president and we were in good hands. And that was basically all that I really seemed to need to know. But now, after his assassination, the people that have come in with notoriously Lyndon Johnson, the first one, have all been involved in criminal activity, or even with a nice guy like Jimmy Carter, he's letting Zbigniew Brzezinski and Henry Kissinger and them run foreign policy. So they exported our businesses, our jobs, our factories to China. That's not American. And so one of the things that I see President Trump trying to do is to bring our productive capacity back into this country. I'm in favor of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think, the startups that we're noticing and the intention of the tariffs is to weaken the dollar so that we can sell stuff instead of our incredible trade deficit in a negative way that we've had ever since then, basically, as far as I know. And that's a good thing for me. Now, what do you think, Marcia?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that I could talk about the things that President Trump has done that I think are good. I could talk about the things that President Trump has done that I think are not good. I could talk about the things that President Trump has said that I find incredibly offensive. I am, again, there are so many shades of gray, and this is the dilemma that just drives me crazy, is that we have this division that is only two-sided. There's yes or no, up or down, left or right, red or blue, in or out, whatever.
Sounds like digital.
Yes, exactly. And our, that's, I've used the word bifurcation a lot, but really binary is probably the better word. And, our whole approach to politics has been just very, very binary, two-sided. And I think that when one speaks about, when one says something good about Trump, then you go, oh, well, you're a Trump fan. You're a MAGA person. No, I'm not. But doesn't mean that there aren't things that he's done that I think are good. The new Trump RX website. First of all, why does he have to have his name on it?
Because he's Trump.
Because he's Trump, exactly. And that I find offensive.
And the Kennedy Center, come on, Trump. You don't need your name on the Kennedy Center.
But the fact that he's trying to launch this website for in order to lower prescription drug costs, I keep looking for a hidden agenda in it. And so far, I haven't found anything. I haven't read much about it, I have to admit. But not a bad thing. I often say that I don't think that the government should be competing with the private sector, but I think when it comes to the healthcare industry, the government must get involved because I don't think that healthcare should be a for-profit operation. So, yay, bravo. We have this government effort to lower drug prices. I think it's great. Do I think it's great that he calls people names? Do I think it's great that he's very disdainful of women and says horrible things to female reporters? No, I think it's very, very unpresidential, very, very sexist. There's a lot about Trump that I dislike, but not everything. Sorry.
That's exactly what you were saying 2 weeks ago when you called President Trump the Howard Stern of politics. I think
that's right.
That should stick, you know. I want to thank Prester John for making these points, though, and let's go through them because I think he speaks for a lot of people. Imagine this is continuing in the same little chat in the comment on our show from December 22nd or so. Imagine these Americans who wax poetic about protecting against tyranny and the adhering to the Constitution, who are now fully backing a man who fosters tyranny and violates the Constitution in a serial fashion. I wonder what drives that level of devotion and cognitive dissonance. And I have a very simple answer: fear of the Biden-Harris agenda. I don't want to be in World War III. I don't want to see our guys over there fighting against Russia in a frontline World War III. I do not want the World Economic Forum to be in charge of the world economy. I don't want the World Health Organization to be forcing us all to bend over and take jabs whenever they want them to. I do not like Tedros, and I do not like all of the people that are associated with Ursula von der Leyen and the EU unelected leadership, quote unquote. I don't like all of these people that would have been empowered, embraced, and forced upon the world if Harris had won.
But you have also not embraced tyranny and violation of the Constitution. So, I think that you're not in favor of those things,
of course
just
not.
like you're not in favor of the Biden and Harris agenda. But all along, you have spoken out, since Trump has been president, about tyranny. And we have discussed many times that the president does violate the Constitution. Total agreement with that, Prester John.
Continuing from Prester John, duopoly, he says. Yeah, that's it. That's the two weevils. Is it not clear at this stage that full spectrum tyranny has been unleashed on the American public? Yes, and it's been there ever since November 22nd, 1963. Let's wake up, folks.
Well, I think that and we've discussed this too, the fact that it has not been out in the open.
Right.
It has been hidden from us and we pretend it's not there.
Exactly.
And the one thing I can say about Trump is that the tyranny that he has imposed through his administration is out in the open and honest.
And, I don't know if it's just hopium or whether I can really trust the ideas that are put out there by all the podcasters that he really is fighting the deep state. I don't think he's fighting the deep state,
No.
But on the other hand, I think that he is fighting part of the deep state on behalf of another part of the deep state. And that part of the deep state is the sovereign America. We're number one, America first, folks.
Well, there tends to be this paradox in his behavior because I think sometimes he acts in favor of the wealthy and sometimes he acts in favor of the common people. And like the RX website, I think is in favor of the common people. But clearly, Trump, just like every president, is controlled by the moneyed class.
And that's where Prester John really concludes his discussion with me. Is that all presidents are controlled by the big bucks that have been concentrated, what I call the empire. It's
Right.
To me, it's a question of republic versus empire. And if I have to choose between Harris and Trump as to which one's going to keep my republic for me, I'm picking Trump every day.
I just never saw leadership qualities in Harris. I was, and I'm sorry because it's both women, but I remember back in 2016 when the Democratic Party went into the primary with the assumption that Hillary Clinton was going to be the nominee. It bothered me. It bothered me terribly. And at the time, I liked Hillary Clinton, but I did not feel like it was a fair race. It was presumed that Hillary was going to be the nominee. And I never saw leadership qualities in her. I found her to... Oh, that's your phone again.
Oh, my.
We've got to figure out how to disconnect that. Oh, that's so much better. All right. Anyway, what was I saying?
Apologies, guys.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw good leadership qualities in Hillary Clinton.
No.
And in a lot of ways, I found her to be very Trump-like. At the time, I didn't see it. But, Trump has a way of being disdainful and arrogant, and that's Hillary too. But, disdainful and arrogant isn't necessarily something that causes dislike towards a man. If a man acts disdainfully, if a man acts arrogantly, very often he's seen as a leader. But from a woman, it's just immediately rubs people the wrong way. And Hillary had no way of showing authority and leadership without being disdainful, and of course her famous comments about what was it she called Trump followers? I'm drawing a total blank. The miserables, it's not that, that's not the word. Whatever. Deplorables, thank you.
Yeah.
The deplorables. I mean, that kind of language is language you would expect from Donald Trump. But Harris was just, again, no leadership qualities, no charisma whatsoever. She wore great suits. I got to say that about Harris. I loved her suits.
There's always something good we can say about anybody.
That's right. That's right. If I were a public official, I would want to dress like Harris did. But I never felt like there were leadership qualities that she brought to the table. So why can't the Democrats come up with a candidate, male or female, that has charisma, that has leadership, that shows compassion, that shows confidence, that can take the lead? The Republicans haven't done a great job of that either. I can't remember, when Barack Obama first got elected.
Yeah.
I felt that from him. And I think that's what got him elected.
He had that charisma.
Oh, absolutely. And still does. He just was following, that whole empire thing. But
you want to know something funny?
What?
I bought a copy of It Takes a Village.
Did you really?
by Hillary Clinton, 40 years ago now?
Wow.
And, I thought, it does take a village, and that's a good idea, and I'm in favor of it. But everything she did was to tear down all the villages, to destroy Main Street, to destroy the family, to destroy, I think, she is, I would credit her with doing the opposite of supporting the village, the group of, the nice guy down at the drugstore that makes sure the children don't get in trouble, and the cop, and all of the wonderful ideas of the idyllic America that Frank Sinatra sang about. I mean, these you don't know the song, it's okay. What is America to me? That's the song, and you can look up Frank Sinatra singing it, and he's on black and white video singing it, and it's a beautiful song. You know, what is America to me? You know, the postman, the library, the people, you know, the folks I meet on the street. That lovely America, you know, that's what Republicans generally want. You know, the Republican base is like, yeah, give me that American dream. And between Harris and Trump, it's just no question that Harris was going to keep on, and then all the other things I already mentioned. So I'm pretty much done with Harris as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they couldn't have picked a worse. But here's the answer to your question from my point of view, Marcia, is that they've got to have somebody that has appeal to the base of the Democratic Party. You know, somebody that can sell the idea that, yes, we are the good guys. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you have women. It's very important to have women. It's very important to have people of color, like Barack. You've got to have the message, and you've got to have a huge media support that's going to keep all of those blue voters voting blue no matter what, vote blue no matter who, right? So they have these, that's the qualification, is to be a good front person. They don't have any depth, you know, they don't understand foreign policy. Hillary Clinton did not understand. All she did was did what they told her, you know, and, you know, oh, let's get rid of Gaddafi. Oh, okay. Oh, we came, we saw, he died. And she cackles a giggle. I mean, that's not statesmanship either.
Right. Well, like Brightmore says, both parties are owned by the same puppet masters.
Exactly. And, you know, this unit party has got to go. And whether, I don't know if Trump can do it or if he even really wants to do it, but I know that we have a much better chance now than we would have had with Harris.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's heartbreaking that those were our choices.
It is.
No, you know, I take that back. Heartbreaking is the wrong word. It's a real pisser. It's ridiculous. It makes me furious that those were our choices.
But these things are all the natural sequelae of the Kennedy assassination. If we hadn't let them get away with that, they could not get away with this.
That's right.
Period.
Well, Prester John says, OMG.
Hey, Prester John, you did make it. Welcome. It's good to have you. I hope you didn't miss our vicious commentary on your comments a little earlier. No, I think it's a great conversation, and thank you for your comments.
Well, I think it's important to get feedback on how we come across. You know, if it seems like we are being pro-Trump all the time, then I think that maybe I'm not being as honest as I think I am. You know, sometimes I avoid certain comments of mine simply because I don't want to come across as being, you know, as anti-Trump as I am. I will say during the election, I really, really struggled because the idea of voting for Donald Trump made me sick. But the idea of voting for Harris made me sick too. So I look forward to the opportunity to have better leadership, but something's going to have to be done, like undoing the coup, before that happens. And in the meantime, we're just going to get a bunch of puppets run by the same or controlled by the same puppet masters.
And Trump makes a very good appearance of not being a puppet. And that sells a lot of his followers too, I think, is that he sounds like he's in charge, and he's very good on camera, and he's very good in repartee. He's one of those people that if you challenge him in a public forum, you're likely to get egg on your face because he knows how to twist.
Right, because he can throw barbs, and he's going to make it personal, and he's going to.
Well,
oh, absolutely. I mean,
he can, but he doesn't have to.
But when a reporter really pressed him on the whole Epstein thing just earlier this week, he immediately turned it personal. Oh, you're a terrible reporter.
All right. I concede you're right on that one.
Yeah. So Garden Girl asks, so who's behind the curtain?
Oh, you mean that curtain over there?
No, I think, the Wizard of Oz's curtains.
The Wizard of Oz is behind the curtain. Yeah. And that's why we have Totos here to pull back the curtain. Yeah. They're sleeping now. I hope they stay asleep while we do our show.
They've learned that. They've started doing that where they sleep quietly and say, well, we're not supposed to bark, so we're just gonna curl up here where we can hear them talking because that makes them happy.
Yeah. Let's take some more comments.
Well, imagine that. Asks, are we not headed for war? Poland is expanding their war machine, the largest in Europe, all with debt money. And I read that Vietnam is starting to expand their military because they're afraid of an American invasion. What?
I don't know what's going on. You know, I just saw this morning that Greenland is beefing up their military bases, and I mean Denmark is fortifying Greenland against the United States. Come on. And the other one that I thought was pretty amusing was a Mexican. I'm sorry, I don't know who it was. We could ask for Borje, but a Mexican commentator was asked something, and he said, Oh yeah, we're taking back our land that was stole from us by the Americans. You know, we're going to get all that back.
They're going to take Texas back?
And California.
Wow.
And, Arizona, New Mexico.
The whole Southwest.
Because it belongs to them. It just, we stole it.
Sure. Well, we did.
So, that's another thing that could happen, or it's not going to happen under Trump's watch, though.
Brightmore says, amid the Epstein furor, Israel is doing its best to push the U.S. into war with Iran. The IDF has been assaulting Palestinians in the East Bank and Jerusalem and pushing them out of their homes. Yeah, I think that a lot of what's going on over there in Israel and the Palestinian territories is getting kind of ignored.
Yeah.
By the whole Iran thing and, the whole Russia thing still and Ukraine and Epstein files and, of course, Minnesota. There's all kinds of distractions happening and we forget, we move on to the next thing.
Well, this leads right into one of the earlier comments from Garden Girl, and that is about the technocracy or the technate that is coming if we don't stop it. People like, Courtney Turner and Patrick Wood, who have written a book on it called Final Betrayal. I have ordered it, and I have a copy of it, and I'm going to be reading it. I think we should all be looking into this technate concern, and Donald Trump doesn't seem to be doing anything to address it or stop it. On the other hand, I just saw that Palantir's stock went down 10% overnight. And that's encouraging for those of us that don't want to be doxxed and have our our personal information sold for money and so.
Oh yeah,
it's
but
what
would cause the stock to go down?
Oh, I don't know yet. I don't know, but maybe something negative about Peter Thiel has come out. I don't know.
Well, I think there was some Epstein connections.
That might be it. Yeah, that might be it. These Epstein connections are just so overwhelming right now. I'm letting other people, of course, do the analysis, and I've been watching Mike Benz and think that his work is good, and I'm just going to keep on watching because a lot of people on the right, the MAGA folks, are like when are we going to see some perp walks? I want to see, orange jumpsuit Clinton. I want to see them in handcuffs going to jail. And I must say, I do too. I want to see this whole damn thing.
You mean as it relates to Epstein?
For whatever reason,
okay.
But the Epstein stuff gives a ton of more ammunition. But there's been a lot out there already, I think, is the complaint. Pam Bondi is not following up on all of the stuff that
No.
gets disclosed.
No, absolutely not. And I read that, one of the big criticisms of this big batch of material that's just been released is very often they redact the names of the men, but not the names of the young women and girls. And it's like they've got to protect these horrible pedophiles, but no, let's don't protect the victims. I mean, sometimes they do, but you can't get it right every time.
Well, more and more of the victims are speaking out. I'm seeing them on my X feed, and
yes,
I encourage everyone to keep pushing, because we can't have a country that's run like this.
Right. Well, and as has been asked all along, we have all of these documents, but what about the testimony of the women and the girls? Is their word not enough?
It's funny, because it was enough when they were prosecuting President Trump.
Yeah.
The victims, there was enough then.
Yeah. I don't know that I paid much attention to what evidence was there. Wow. George McDowell says, yes, there is a video with Peter and Jeffrey. So there you go.
Okay. Thanks, George. And good to have you back, sir.
The kidnappers of, this is Brightmoor Dinosaur. The kidnappers of Nancy Guthrie requested ransom paid in Bitcoin, a psyop to sabotage, control Bitcoin. Interesting. I had not heard that. I didn't know that they had specifically asked for a ransom. Are you following that story?
No, I haven't picked up on it. I'm sorry. Sorry to say I haven't been watching a whole lot of social media when I've been flat on my back, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, that story has been not just social media.
Tell me.
Well, Nancy Guthrie is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, who is one of the hosts of one of the morning shows, NBC's, morning show, whatever that's called. And her mother has disappeared, and they believe that she's been kidnapped. She's an 84-year-old woman, Nancy Guthrie, who lives in Tucson, Arizona, and was out with relatives on Saturday night. They dropped her off at home and then never saw her again. And the police are saying that it looks like she was abducted overnight that night.
Mm.
And, they're trying to find her. And there have been both fake ransom demands and the police say ransom demands that they're looking into that may be real. So who knows? I think it's very strange. Who would abduct an 84-year-old mother of a TV personality? I guess it goes back to, when Frank Sinatra Jr. was abducted, that kind of thing.
Without more information, I don't think I could offer anything useful. But thanks for explaining it. It's a man's world, says Road Warrior, James Brown. If you've never heard that song, you should. And there is a version of it with none other than Luciano Pavarotti and James Brown on the same stage singing "It's a Man's World," and going back and forth with the lyrics. And
I'm not that familiar with that song. What is the point of the song?
I think it's all about men rule the world, and women are.
Is it celebrating that men rule? I mean, we know that men rule the world, but is it celebrating that or lamenting that?
No, it's just celebrating it, I'm sure. I don't remember the lyrics, but the idea of "It's a Man's World" is what you were saying, and I think Road Warrior is just backing you up there.
Well, George McDowell says Bitcoin equals Jeffrey Epstein backed with money.
That's coming out too, that Epstein may have actually been behind the whole Bitcoin thing. I'd love to know. Yeah. Satoshi, Satoshi, what's his name? Nakamura Satoshi that supposedly did it. And somebody figured out that those were just the first four letters of like Motorola and, four corporations, with the first four. Who is really behind Bitcoin? I don't know. I imagine Trump knows. That's the other thing is that Trump knows a whole lot of things. He's got a lot of cards in his deck, and he's not going to play them all at once. He's not stupid, and people think he's stupid. He is far from stupid. Yeah.
No, he's not stupid at all. He's very, very astute and very shrewd. I sometimes really admire his shrewdness because he knows how to negotiate. He knows how to
make a deal.
He knows how to make a deal. He knows how to position himself into a position of power. Yeah, no, he's quite shrewd.
Yeah, I'd love to know. A long time ago, they used to say that he was a friend of JFK Jr. And, I think ended up going to a basketball game or something together.
I could see that.
I don't remember the details, but if he was a friend of JFK Jr., then he is probably motivated to undo the coup. And he may be working on it in his own methods, his own way. He may be.
No, I don't think so. I really don't. Because I think that the people who control him are the people who don't want the coup undone.
Right.
Because they're the people who got him into office. You don't get to the White House without getting into bed with those people.
But once you get to the White House, maybe you decide that you're going to now put on your white hat and you're now going to clean up.
No.
Maybe you do.
No.
I think that's what JFK did, to the risk of his life.
And look what happened to him, because I was about to say, once you cross them, they're going to make sure that they get you out of their way.
And of course, they've got J.D. Vance as their insurance policy, really, so that we don't want to see Trump getting taken out, because then it's, the technate takes over through J.D. Vance.
Right.
That's what most of the folks that are concerned about this are seeing. And where can you find hope in a situation where the choices are between a Trump and a Harris? Where can you find it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. You're not going to find hope in either of those camps.
All right, let's see if anybody in the chat room has some hope.
Brightmore says JFK Jr. was the main obstacle to Hillary winning the Senate race in New York.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then he went down in the plane. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And, her mob connections, and there's really no question to me that he was taken out so that she could have the seat. And, Hillary Clinton, Chicago mob. Absolutely. We didn't know she was Chicago mob back then, but we know it now.
Well, everybody is pointing out that J.D. Vance is Palantir, says Prester John.
Yep.
And then Garden Girl says, J.D., ugh, feel boy. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these South Africans, Thiel and Musk, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
This goes, when people poo-poo the LaRouche organization's ideas about this all of it being traceable back to the British and the British Empire and MI6, it makes sense, since that whole South African thing went through British colony. Then you had Milner and the Milner's kindergarten and the whole culture of exploiting the resources and raping the children. That whole South African British culture, it stinks. And these guys are coming over here with billions and billions of dollars, achieving, highest positions in our country.
Yeah, and power.
And we shouldn't trust him.
Yeah, well, Brightmore actually early on in the show kind of went down this road saying, I was wondering why Elon was not shrieking about Trump's abandonment of the EV industry. Then Musk announced that Tesla would be transitioning to automation and robotics behind all of the distractions. Corporations are engaging in massive layoffs as they transition to AI and automation. Data centers are currently being shoved onto communities, which will require an overhaul of the electrical grid, the Internet of Things. Are we not entering the next phase of the panopticon?
Panopticon is a dream jail that was cooked up in the 18th century. I can't remember the person's name, but the idea is to design a jail where a minimal number of people can observe all of the inmates in their cells at any one time. So basically, it's like a circle with a tower of cells around it, and the control center is in the middle. And the idea is that while 2 or 3 guys can't watch all of those cells at the same time, they're engineering it such that enough of them can be watched at once so that the prisoners know they can't get away with anything. You can't get out.
I see.
And so that idea of a panopticon comes through with the techno-fascism that is behind a lot of what Palantir is, Promise Software and all that. That whole thing is all about creating an inescapable digital prison.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he means, the panopticon.
I see.
Yeah, and I think he's right.
Well, I think that I had not made the connection between Bitcoin or cyber currency and AI and data centers. But this company that supposedly is trying to buy a site here locally near Mystery Island to put in a data center, cyber currency is part of their operation as well.
Cyber currency.
Yeah, I don't think they call it that. I don't know if I don't remember, but I remember seeing that on their website, that's part of what they do. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay.
How's what's the name of the company? Something Wolf, TheraWolf, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to study that more and more, Marcia, because it's impending. It's going to impact upon us in the sense of if they build a bunch of data centers, then what happens to our water table? And,
absolutely.
And this is farm country down here, man. We need that water. I don't think the local population is going to be too happy with the idea. So hopefully it won't happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully
we shall see.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's kind of a side issue that is important nationally because, if Harris were the president, then I don't think that anybody could put the brakes on a policy like that. But with the Republicans in the White House and in Congress, I think there's enough people that would agree with the population down here that no, we don't need it, and it would be bad for us.
Well, Prester John says Trump is advancing AI.
He is. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I read this morning that there's this whole thing about supposedly all the AI bots had a conference and wanted to discuss how people are treating them badly. And, like there's this whole thing going on where we're supposed to think that AI is starting to have self-awareness and consciousness.
Oh, they started a church, I think. Something about
that's right. And it's like
something, molt church.
No, Crustafarianism.
Oh, Crustafarianism. That sounds like crustaceans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whoa, what the heck?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to believe this?
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go, Garden Girl.
Choose the lesser crustacean.
Anyone following Moltbook, a new religion, feels like a new form of control over speech.
Of course.
Exactly.
Why in the heck would anybody follow or even who cares what one AI says to the other AI? Maybe there's some jokes to be made there. What did the AI say to the other AI? I don't know. I haven't come up with a punchline yet, but
No,
somebody will.
somebody will. That just, I don't know why, reminds me of the joke I read just recently that said a priest, an imam, and a rabbit go into a bar, and the rabbit says, "Oops, oh no," and somebody says, "We need blood. What kind of blood?" And the rabbit says, "I think I'm a typo."
Ooh. All right.
Sorry.
No, that was a little hit me in the gut, man.
Imagine that says, and all these AI developers throwing money at it are losing value and affecting the market, losing their butts.
What really makes me mad is that Elon Musk is always publishing these videos that he's created using his Grok or AI. And, he really wants everybody to just jump in to get your old photos, make them look lifelike, make the people reanimate, create videos. All of this stuff is hugely, intensely energy dependent. And so if we're trying to save energy, why in the hell are we going to burn out all of our energy that we're subsidizing, making stupid little movies? But they want.
Well, that's the goal, is to get us to do exactly that. And so once again, you have to ask, what's the agenda there? Why is it that they want us to burn up all of our energy? Why is it that they want us to become more and more invested in AI and dependent on AI and addicted to AI? They're trying to draw us in, and I'm seeing on social media this meme going around, everybody getting their own face, getting their own illustration of themselves. It's like a cartoon,
Right?
And and everybody, when they post it, goes, "Okay, I'll jump on the bandwagon and post mine." And I'm thinking, why? I don't need this.
No, but you don't need publicity. These generally, these people are like, I want to be seen. So it's like an opportunity for them to, create something eye-catching that people will have to look at. Say, oh, look, a cartoon feature of the guy that runs my local dollar store or something, and just as a kind of a way to get your name out. But it's so juvenile to me.
Exactly.
Juvenile.
It's yeah. I couldn't care less about something like that, and spending my time. I mean, if I'm going to spend time on the internet, then I'd rather watch dog videos.
Oh, I love to watch dog videos. If you mind if I put one up there?
Oh, please do.
Here's George, and he says, me and many in the FBA family did not and will not vote. I think it's a perfectly legitimate choice. It's sad that we are in
FBA.
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
No, maybe George will tell us. But the idea of making a positive choice, an informed decision that no, we're not going to play. I remember Peter Duke is like that over at the Duke Report. He says, it's elections are fake. Don't even go. Well, if we don't participate, then we're going to lose it all. That's why I think, so even though I have to pick between the lesser of two evils right now, until we can undo the coup, we're going to be stuck with this, And how hard is it to say Lyndon Johnson, Alan Dulles, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and J. Edgar Hoover covered up the assassination of the President of the United States. And that cover-up has continued from then to now. And that cover-up constitutes a coup d'etat. So let's just recognize it and unpack it so that we can all get back to the idea of we can trust our government again.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. I really don't.
I don't either, but I wish it was. that's that's my passion, is to try, use my father's story as a kind of a way to say, look, look, this guy, my dad, he was kind of one of the chosen ones. He went through the prep school and Harvard and,
Oh,
officer
absolutely.
training. Then he
And you
became,
must, because, you got to throw that pebble in the pond and create the ripples, because those ripples might eventually lead to a tidal wave. And that's what we need.
exactly. All right. So there's a plug for my book, McDuff Lives, guys. If you haven't got a copy, it's only $10 and you can get it on Amazon.
Yes, please. It's a great book, and it starts the story that I think will eventually be the story that gets it going. Road Warrior says, a friend of mine had a bit part in the 1984 movie Revenge of the Nerds. I think we're living it now. Yeah, I think so.
Well, this has been a great chat, Marcia. We're almost getting up to the top of the hour, and it's been one thing after another. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, some great comments from a very engaged audience today. Thank you guys so much. There we can't always get to all of the comments, but
well, let's try to get to a few more.
Yeah, well, this is interesting because George McDowell says data centers will make their own energy.
There
And that's actually what's going on here in our community.
Yeah.
We have a site that was a coal-fired power plant. Morgantown. And it operated for 50 years, I think, before they closed it down. And it has been sitting there doing nothing for about 4 years. And now a company is buying that site, and they say they're gonna bring it back to life. I don't know. They're not saying exactly how they're going to be generating, but they're going to start generating. They're going to increase the generating capacity, because even though they shut down the coal plant, there was still a small diesel oil operation that has continued to operate. And they're going to not only continue that, but they're going to increase it again and generate their own power, they're saying. Of course, their press release was written in a manner that you had to read each sentence 2 or 3 times to figure out what it was they were actually saying, because it was just a gobbledygook of word salad, as John put it. But that's it exactly. They're going to generate their own power, they claim.
Yeah, and that power, I was like, why are we shutting it down? There's nothing, it works. Well, the reason that we shut it down is because it burned coal.
Right. It was too expensive to operate because of all of the restrictions that Maryland puts on coal operations.
And probably a good thing for us, in that we're not getting coal dust floating down and from the sky and onto us.
Remember when we used to have, and we're 10 miles from that site?
Oh, good.
At least.
Yeah.
And we used to get soot on our front porch furniture.
And now we don't. And that's good. That's a good thing. But the investment in something like that, and I just will mention that my college roommate, Bill, his father died as a construction worker building that power plant. He fell from some height.
Oh my
gosh. It's a huge building. So, the sacrifices that people have made to build that place, and then to just shut it down and not replace it, I thought was a crime. But now to turn it over to a data center place would be a worse crime.
Yeah. I have to, since I asked the question, I have to thank George for answering it. FBA is Foundational Black American Kids of the Slaves. 14th Amendment wrote for us.
Okay.
Thank you, George.
And thanks again for that historical note, because that's a huge part of America, is that, we had this horrible flaw, this horrible scar on our nation.
And there's a good example of something that Trump is doing that just drives me crazy.
Okay.
He's removing any reference to slavery from the museums.
What?
Yes. And from the national parks. Yes. He's trying to pretend that slavery never happened. He's trying to, and then of course, all of his DEI initiatives. I mean, he's claiming that anything DEI is racist because it disadvantages the white person. And I'm thinking, whoa, we made so much progress since the 60s in the civil rights movement in recognizing racism, in acknowledging the horrors of slavery. You know, it's not anything like they showed in Gone with the Wind. It was horrors. And now we're going to completely, go back to the early 20th century when we all pretended that slavery never happened or is over or it wasn't a bad thing. Oh my God. Yeah, no. He is definitely removing references to slavery from many museums. Yep.
I told you I saw that Kevin Costner movie when I was on a plane a couple of years ago, and I don't remember the name. It was a stupid movie about settlers going out west and the army and everything, and so they're in the army post, and the captain is saying, "Well, what about the Native Americans?" In a movie about the Old West, like the captain in the cavalry in 1870 would have been concerned enough about the Native Americans not to use the word that everybody used back then.
That's right.
It's just, I don't want my history turned into a bunch of nonsense, and that's what they're doing.
Yes.
And it's not just, certainly, I'm sad to see Trump participating in that. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah. Well, Brightmore notes, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. And that's a quote from Orwell.
There's three parts to that, Brightmore. The first part is who controls the present controls the past. And that's what's going on is, they control the present, so they're changing the past.
Yeah, he switched it around.
No, there's three parts. He only had two.
Okay, he says, who controls the past controls the future.
Oh,
who controls the present controls the past.
Apologies.
Okay.
I read it too fast. Let's take this one from Garden Girl, because I think I do want to make this point that it appears that what they're constructing in Gaza is being driven by the Kushner real estate agenda, which is conforming itself to the 15-minute cities, panopticon of you can't leave, you can't, and the technocracy. In other words, they're building Gaza as a trial balloon for imposing the technocracy in other places. And this apparently is going to involve General Petraeus and, these ideas that come out of counterinsurgency doctrine of how to pacify a population so that they won't fight against you when you're stealing all their stuff,
Well, it's interesting. We haven't talked about the 15-minute cities in a long time. And I've never really believed the danger of the 15-minute cities because I don't think people are going to get locked in. But when you talk about urban planning, very often the notion that everything you need is close to you is part of the agenda, because that way you use fewer resources. You don't have to use up so much fuel to be driving to the grocery store or driving to work. If you only ever travel within 15 minutes of your home, then all the resources are, the use of resources is minimized. But now, with the electrical grid being so threatened by the enormous demand on AI, I'm starting to think, enormous demand of data centers for AI, I'm starting to think, wait a minute, maybe there is some truth to all of this, because they want us not to, they want us to use fewer resources, not to preserve the resources, but to be able to have the resources for the data centers, for the AI, for all of that that's going to be happening.
I think you're right. But I would point you to Oxford, England, which has imposed and is now, as of 2026, enforcing the 15-minute city rules, which include you can leave 100 times in the year without paying. But if you want to leave again, then you have to pay what amounts to about $100 and some a day that you leave your 15-minute city. On the other side, if you want to visit Oxford, you get 25 visits a year free. But if you want to go a 26th time, you're going to have to pay to get inside Oxford, England. That is a panopticon.
Absolutely. I had not heard this, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna read up on that because I can't imagine in a country like England that happening. Wow.
Man, England is not what England used to be, you know.
Wow.
I mean, it's nightmare, you know. They're controlling social media. They're locking people up for complaining about Israel and British policy. You can't complain, you know. It's like that the comic the comic that said, you know, how's life? I said, oh, I can't complain. He says, oh, it's that good. He says, no, I really can't complain.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah. Well, Garden Girl says California wants to tax you by mileage, keeping you in your home base.
That's the Gavin Newsom crowd and their agenda.
Excuse me.
Marcia, we're out of time.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, we already went over, but it's been great.
It has been wonderful to be back. Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe even next week will sound even better.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us. And thanks for the many, many comments. I'm going to go through them all after the show, as I always do. And Marcia, again, thank you so much for joining me for these Friday chats.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.